What's going on, everybody? Big Cop Diesel coming at you. And this is a live stream. I really don't care for live stream, but YouTube changed something where I used to be able to make videos directly um, on my laptop, edit them, and upload them. They changed something, and I just haven't had time to mess around with it to see what's going on with it. But I know I can do it from my phone. Um, but I like doing it from the laptop because I got my handy dandy microphone here. I'm trying to be all high speed and stuff, so that's the main reason. But I have done some of these videos from my phone, and it works just fine also. But anyways, I don't expect anybody to be watching this live stream or to jump in. I haven't gotten that exciting with this yet, where people are like, "Oh man, he's live streaming. Let me see what he's talking about." So you'll just see this in your feed um, at some point and chime in and check it out whenever you're ready. All right, so today's video is about communication. This came up in training today, and I haven't mentioned, I don't think. In fact, I know I haven't. Those of you that are following me on social media see some pictures I'm posting of some PPCT and all that stuff. So I'm in the process of going through what's called PA 330 school or Public Act 330. And in a nutshell, what that does here in Michigan, this is only in Michigan, although other states may have something similar. So if you guys are chiming in from other states and what I'm talking about is familiar, please let me know what the program is in your state, what they call it, and what all is entailed. But anyways, in Michigan, you basically have two classes of security guard. You have the kind of the base level security guard, which for all intents and purposes is what I am until Friday, uh, where the person doesn't really has minimal to no training whatsoever, just given a shirt um, and told to go stand somewhere, guard something, whatever. Um, and then you have what's called a security police officer. Now in Michigan, there's only about a little over a dozen sites around the state that use what's called a security police officer. So what is a security police officer? Basically, a security police officer is a security guard who has arrest authority while they're in uniform, on duty, and on the client's property. Those are the three things that have to happen. So that means that even though I carry a gun and a badge on the property that I protect, where I have full police power, the minute I leave property, I no longer have that police authority. So if I'm on property, someone comes in and commits a crime, I can arrest them, place them in handcuffs, take them down to our detention cell, um, and then Detroit PD would pick it up from there, whether it's a misdemeanor or a felony. Same scenario, the person does something on property, runs off property, I can chase them to the property line and then I have to let them go. Or if I were to catch up to them, which this is hypothetical because I wouldn't, I just simply wouldn't be able to detain or arrest that person. So that's the big difference. So for all intents and purposes, if you're a PA 330 officer and you're on your client's property on duty in uniform, you have arrest authority. So this is like a 3 week academy. The first week we covered all the law from the Constitution all the way down to the Michigan Constitution that goes over um, all the amendments, but obviously the Fourth Amendment being the most important one because that's where our arrest authority comes from. And then, Terry stops, Miranda, all that kind of stuff. Week 2 is all PPCT, and they do certify you once you successfully complete your practical and your written. You will get a certificate from PPCT stating that you've been through the training. I had one before when I worked with corrections, and so I'm going through it again. So it's familiar territory for me. And then this week is all kind of radio communications, hazardous materials, narcotics, all that stuff. So it's basically like a condensed police academy, whereas your normal police academy can run anywhere from 16 to 30 weeks or whatever. So, anyways, enough about that. I will probably make a more detailed video about that. But anyways, what I wanted to do here, so that's why I'm wearing the security hat. I do not wear this at work. I've never worn this at work. This thing is brand spanking new. I think I've only worn it once or twice, walking around in my underwear with this thing on, because A, it doesn't match the uniform that we wear. B, it's ugly as hell. That's the main reason. But anyways, I figured I'd wear it for the video today. So anyways, I wanted to talk about communication. Out of all the skills that you may have, no matter what walk of life you're coming from, communication is huge. Um, and the reason why I want to talk about it is because it did come up today in training, but it's also a discussion that I've had on many occasions, both as a security guard and when I was a corrections officer, and even when I was doing the whole personal training thing full time. Communication is key. When you are in a position of authority, you're wearing some type of uniform, whether you're a security guard, a police officer, corrections officer, firefighter, whatever. Some people just have an aversion to uniforms. They see uniforms, they immediately have a problem with it because they don't like authority. They don't like dealing with anybody in a uniform. They might hate cops, they might hate running cops, whatever their deal is. But when you're trying to get somebody to do something, especially if you're trying to get them to do something they really don't want to do, um, it's always better uh, to use sugar and not spice. And I'm paraphrasing, I know it's an old phrase. It's easier to get things done with sugar than it is spice. So anytime I deal with somebody, I always start off very, very polite, giving good customer service, um, calling them by their name, yes sir, no sir, yes ma'am, no ma'am, and then they determine how the communication goes from there. Because I'll go from asking, right, hey man, you're not supposed to be sleeping here. I'm gonna have to ask you to leave. Um, and 99.9% of the time, that'll do it. No problem. The person might gripe a little bit or whatever, but they're moving on. If that doesn't work, then it's tell, right? So if I'm not getting anywhere with being super polite and asking the person to go, then I kind of turn it up a notch and say, okay, it's time for you to leave. You have to leave. Um, Again, if I can get compliance there, life is good. Um, I might be all kinds of, whatever they want to call me as they're moving their way toward the exit. And then the last step is make. So we're switching over from verbal communication into more than likely hands on. So we're in another realm there. We're on the use of force continuum uh, at the second step where you're telling somebody to leave, right? But but like I said, 99.9% of the time, I can get people to pretty much do what I want them to do just by being um, polite. You might strike up conversation. For instance, I ran into a guy that was kind of camped out in a stairwell of one of our parking structures, and it was kind of chilly out. Looked like it was going to rain or whatever. And I just said, "Hey, man, how you doing today?" He was really expecting me to be really aggressive with him and really hardcore because that's what he's used to dealing with other people. But I just struck up conversation. We don't have a whole lot in common, right? But I just say, hey man, it's kind of chilly day out today, huh? Yeah, looks like it might rain or whatever. And I understand that it is kind of chilly out there and stuff, but man, you can't be in the stairwell. I got to ask you to leave. And he was cool. He gathered up his stuff. I even helped him put his coat on, and it was good to go. And he told me his name. I told him my name because I'm going to see him again. He's a regular around the area. Um, but could I have went in there and said, "Hey, get up! You got to go. Let's go. Let's move it." I could have went in at 100%. But where would that have left me? You know what I mean? If I go in on the verbal scale, verbally very aggressive, very negative, I don't really have anywhere else to go. So if the guy gives me any kind of problem or doesn't want to do it, I don't have any choice left but to escalate into hands on, but why do that unnecessarily? Right. And don't get me wrong, I will go hands on with somebody if I have to. I have no problem with it. I'll sleep like a baby at night, but I won't do it unless I have to. So the other thing is working security is, especially where I'm at, and I'm sure it's the same where everybody else is at too, but you're dealing with all kinds of people. You might be dealing, like I said, with a homeless guy. I don't know what his story is. I don't know what his life was like before. He could be a freaking rocket scientist in a past life for all I know. I don't know. But I go from dealing with somebody who's kind of down and out all the way up to helping a customer who's looking for a particular place in our building, who might be a college educated person. They might be a rocket scientist. I don't know. They might be a foreigner, but I have to be able to communicate effectively whether I'm dealing with a homeless person or if the CEO of the company that we're providing security for talks to me. I need to be able to communicate effectively with them, the homeless guy, the CEO of the company, and everybody in between, and do that effectively. And again, it won't always work, but always start low. Just like on the use of force continuum, the very first thing you start with is officer present verbal direction, right? Officer present verbal direction. And that use of force continuum starts there and goes all the way up to and including deadly force, right? But you got a whole lot of steps in between. So using that same methodology, when we're talking about communication, you start low, very polite, almost kind of nonchalant, I'd say, in a way, to at the top end of that being very stern and saying, all right, you have to go, or hey, I'm placing you under arrest, you know. So just think about that. If you find that you're having a hard time talking to people, I work with officers who are timid. Some of them are very timid. They're afraid of confrontation. They don't want any problems. They're actually afraid to tell this homeless guy who's trying to take a bath in the public bathroom in the sink that, hey, you have to go, or the officer that has to tell someone, hey, you have to get out of the stairwell. Um, but what you want to do is, if you are like that, you got to work on that because it's still a communication skill. And again, at the end of the day, you're trying to get somebody to do something that they honestly really don't want to do. It's the same thing in the prison. All those guys are locked up. I've worked with prisoners who were in for a very short bit, 36 months for writing a bad check, all the way up to people who have killed their whole family. And at the end of the day, you still got to get these guys to do what you want them to do, whether it's to move from their cell to another cell, to move from the shower back to their cell, or whatever it is. And you can't go in at 100% because it leaves you nowhere else to go. Um, so you always start low. Now, having said that, I have to make sure you understand, when I worked in the prison, I didn't ask prisoners anything, but when I told them, I still told them, I had a little scale. Hey, man, this is what I need you to do. So in prison sense, that's me asking him, but I'm telling him, and then all the way up above. So I just wanted to clarify that. But again, guys, the model that works really good is ask, tell, make. Ask them to do whatever it is you wanted to do. Because as security guards, remember, we're working for a client and we're dealing with the public, right? And unless you're working at a nuclear power plant or you're working at a prison or somewhere where the intensity is up, if you're not working at a site like that, if you're in an office building, a construction site, these kind of places, you don't have to treat it like you're guarding a nuclear power plant. So just use your human nature, your interpersonal skills to kind of get the person to do what you want them to do. All right, guys, I hope this helped. Please leave me some comments below about any issues you've had with communicating with people, whether it be the client, meaning the CEO of the company, or some kind of officer of the company that's hired you, or just dealing with the public. And let me know if you've had any issues with that, or give me your thoughts. Don't forget to subscribe. If you know of somebody that's in the security field, please send them to this channel, because as far as I know, there's not any other channels out there where people are discussing security. I mean, I've seen some one-off ones out there, but that's it. All right, guys, talk to you soon.